Hey, how's it going? I'm Lando, and welcome back to Lando's Lessons. This is my beginner's course, lesson number 8, and today's video we'll be talking about the troubleshooting for chords. It might be a super short video, but it's very necessary, so sit down, grab your guitar, and have fun. So there are a lot of different ways that a chord won't be played clean. We're just going to kind of talk over a couple of the most common ones. I know I still struggle with some of these sometimes, and be playing and wonder why I can't make it sound right. The most common one, though, I would say is probably your fingernails. Now, if you have long nails, you probably already realized this, but it's a lot harder to hold down the string if your nails are long, because your nail will hit the fretboard before the tip of your finger will, and it makes it a whole lot harder to push it down while it's sounding clean. So that's the first reason, and I feel like the most common. Now, the second reason could have to do with the first reason, but it's just not pushing the strings down hard enough. Now, I know it's going to hurt at first. Your fingers will be sore. You'll see little indentions from the strings. Until you get your calluses, it'll be a little bit difficult to play the strings hard enough, or to hold them down hard enough, I should say. But it is a very important thing, especially the further along you go. You have to have the strings held down tight. If you don't, they'll start rattling or they just won't be clean. So that's another very common reason why you can't play it correctly. The third reason I talked about in my last video, very briefly, but is not rolling your fingers enough. Now, when I say rolling your fingers, when you're holding down, you don't want them to be flat. Like, you don't want to be pushing the bottom of your finger against the strings underneath the one you're trying to hold. You want them to be arched. You want to make an arch with your fingers. So, like, say you're playing A, you don't want them flat. You want them to be arched. So that way there's nothing touching the bottom string. You won't somehow tap the bottom string to where it doesn't sound clear. The final reason I'm going to include in this video is not being close enough to the fret. Now, I know I talked about this briefly in my last video too, but I really suggest getting as close as you can without being on top of the fret. That's another reason it might not be clear, is if you're on top of the fret. But you just want to be as close to it as possible, because the further away from it you are, the harder the strings are going to be to play clearly. They're going to be harder to hold down. It makes it a lot easier the closer you are. So make sure you're getting as close as you can to the whatever fret you're on, with no matter what finger and what string. If you try to strum the chord and there's something rattling but you cannot tell what it is, a good way to do it is that you hold the chord like normal and you go through and you pick each individual string, and that'll let you know which string is not clear. It might be multiple ones, it might only be one. It might be the very bottom, the high E string, just barely touching your finger. But that's a very good way to tell which one is making the rattling sound, so that way you can fix it. So I'm going to hold an A, and I'm going to do the troubleshooting too. Again, I'm going to do it up here instead of back here like normal, just so you can see. I only got one camera, and it's propped up on my desk, so I don't have the best way to get both angles at the same time. So we're just going to do it, make do with what we got. So I'm holding A, just A major, like we learned in the last video. I'm going to go through and I'm going to pluck each string to tell which one is making the sound. Because, like, hear the rattling. So we're not playing the top one, which also could be doing it if you are on accident playing the top one. Again, you can mute it or just be careful to not hit it, or if you're using a pick, just make sure you're not hitting the top one. Well, that one was clear, I didn't mean to do that, but so you go through and you pluck each one. So here's 5th string. That one's clear. Let's go to the 4th string. That one's clear. Let's go to the third string. Oh, you hear that? It's not clear. That means I'm not pushing down hard enough on the fourth string. So if I go through and I push down extra hard now it's clear. So then we move on to the next one. And if your fingers are rolled, then the bottom one should be good as well. Then you can strum it all at the same time. It should be clear. And you just keep doing this over and over until eventually your fingers will know what's right and what's wrong and how to get there fast. It's, again, something with time and practice that you'll get it down perfect. So the last thing I want to talk about is something that I struggled with when I was learning. I wanted to just jump to the next lesson just as quick as possible. I wanted to try to learn as much in one day as I could. I don't recommend that. I recommend trying to get down, especially to start with A major. I suggest trying to get it down as good as possible. Just keep practicing. If you need to watch videos again, keep doing that until you can play it clean and get to it fairly quick before you move on to the next one. I know it's hard to do. I know it's hard to be patient, but you'll be very thankful in the long run. So I just, again, suggest trying to get it down before you move on. Well, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Next video, we'll be talking about how to play D major. We got one down, and we got 2 more to go before we learn our first song. So have fun, keep practicing, and I'll see you next time.